Change will come to those who have no fear.
Hello, and welcome to the show. My name is Peyton Guthrie. To my left is Nick Grohl. He owns 6 Crow-Mask, FYI. And today we're going to talk about episode 2 of True Detective Season 2 and give our general thoughts and kind of a review. Nick, how about you start us off?
I just felt like this episode really did a good job of propelling the story forward. Last time we got a lot of character development, a lot of backstory, and this one mixed that with a lot of the overarching plot of what everything was going on. So I felt like we were getting a broader idea of the city and everything, the different elements and the players in the game, and the fact that our main characters are not even the main characters of the city. They are very much the pawns to a lot of these powerful figures.
Yeah, episode 1 really was preparing the table for the meal. I mean, if you're going to do this, you have to make sure everything's set out, the plates, the forks, the knives, and then we can start digging into the meat of the meal. And that's what episode 2 was really. I mean, we really start seeing these characters, our players, and we see them in motion for the first time. We see them actually colliding into each other. And then also, not only colliding into each other, we see them being pitted against each other by the players, the bigger players. It's very interesting to see all 3 of our police force have different meetings with the same people being told different things and what they expected of. The show's very interesting so far about how it's really pitting themselves together. Because season 1, they're on the same side. Maybe outside of work they weren't, because Matthew McConaughey's trying to bang Rusty's wife the entire time. But this time, they're not on the same team, and everyone has their own motives for a lot of different reasons. It's very interesting.
Because what was propelling the first season was the crime itself and them trying to uncover what was really going on. And this one, while there's that line in the story, there's this whole other element that's going on with the players going against each other and trying to figure out, get some dirt on the other one to report back to their head honcho.
Yeah, because this one is like the crime happens, but everything that everyone's interested in is what's happening around the crime. No one really cares that the dude's dead. He's dead. People die all the time. That's basically what's happening.
We basically have yet to find out why he was killed, really. And obviously, we got more clues in this episode. Obviously, what the way that he was murdered was more having to do with all the sex that he'd been having. The fact that his eyes had been destroyed and that they basically took a shot to his junk,
A lingering shot. Thank you,
shot.
HBO.
Right. Only on HBO. But the fact that it was almost punishment for what he'd done. So obviously there's some, kind of like the other season where it was this cult kind of thing, but this one, there seems to be this level of paying for your sins, getting the world that we deserve that Colin talks about in the episode. So I find that interesting.
And being ready for reckoning and judgment.
Right.
And even his character, as it progresses, you could see this being the ending episode because every conversation he has with all of the important players could be seen as the parting ways.
Right.
I mean, so his character is very interesting. The conversation he has with his wife, even showing up as so completely mindlessly like, hey, where's the kid at? Like, of course he's not going to be there.
Right.
Of course the mom's going to be there. And of course they're going to do emergency writ for supervised visitation. And of course. But he just doesn't get it.
Basically, he's just having not the worst day of his life, but definitely top 5.
Top 5 worst days of life, yeah. I mean, it really does rank up there.
Because it goes from basically losing the last connection he has to his family to losing any ounce of kind of self-respect that he even has. Because from the first episode where he was being given this information about who raped his wife from Vince Vaughn in more of a level playing field. It was, I'm just doing this because I think this is right. I don't think this is right. You should get what you need to get in terms of revenge or just a fulfillment of closure for him.
A natural law, he said.
And now it's become this sense of, no, you work for me and you do what I say, and I don't want to hear about this moping anymore. I don't want to hear about you offing yourself. And I believe, like we had talked about earlier, that's Vince Vaughn's best moments, is when he's finally interacting with somebody, when he's not having a conversation with the ceiling. That's, I think, where he was faltering a little bit. And when he was able to be more Vince Vaughn-y, maybe.
Yeah.
being able to kind of be that fast-talking, kind of intimidating figure.
When he gets to be Wedding Crashers, old school Vince Vaughn,
right.
he shines.
Yeah.
He really does, because that's who he is. Him, like I said, staring at the paper mache, water stains in the ceiling, wasn't his best light. I don't know if I would have put him in that light.
Yeah.
But it does get the character where it needs to go. It allows you to see Vince Vaughn's character of he's trying to go straight, but now he's been locked in the basement, and if he's going to be in that basement, he's going to bludgeon these rats to death.
And really the story kind of it talks about, you know, how he's locked in, and essentially he's been locked into his former life in a sense. And so there might not be a way out for him, because what we see in the episodes is that him going back into the underground of his seedy past and going to the strip club and intimidating one of the guys, trying to get information, but also trying to say, don't screw with me, kind of thing.
He even mentions, you know, I can start tearing down walls. You know, he can tell he's emotionally in that basement. And the better monologue he has, because he has two, the better one he has is the one in the car. Am I diminished?
Yeah.
You know, am I now diminished?
Because that's even the point where we learn that he's this is everything.
Yeah.
He's lost all his money. He was betting it all on this deal to go down, and now that that's gone, now he's in the corner, and he has to fight his way out.
Yeah.
Essentially.
We found out he's a desperate man. So we have two very desperate people of Colin and Vince fighting side by side to a certain degree with a symbiotic relationship that they have, pitted against the other two characters who do not have as much involved with each other, obviously, as they two do. So we have we learn more about Taylor Kitsch's character's background, visiting the mom, which was pretty crazy.
Right.
Very handsy.
Yes.
Handsy mom.
Not sure if it's the handsy, like, how was your day? Or the cool mom, as we say, like, oh, I'm just in it, or if it's the, yeah, something happened, and he's
more like
fractured, and it makes sense that he has to have Viagra. So.
Yeah, it's more like the handsy, you know, you go to a drive-through movie handsy.
Right,
You know what I'm
yeah.
talking about? You know what I'm talking about? But not with your mom.
Right.
It's kind of weird. So you can kind of see emotionally how that's messed him up and destroyed him to the point to where he needs these things. He needs these extra stimulants.
Right.
And it's strange because he had the big Chekhov gun moment in the scene, talking about the bank teller and how he was being hit on and how he was going to beat him up. But if he would just admit what we're assuming, that he's gay, if he were to admit his homosexuality, he wouldn't be on this case.
Right.
He wouldn't have been suspended from the bike. Everything he wants, he would still have.
Because then he could have just said, no, I didn't let her,
Yeah.
do that because I'm not into that.
Yeah.
And then it would have been fine.
And that's that. But the idea of the admission of doubt, of weakness, giving up your pride, these are all things that interesting characters have. I won't say his character so far is the most interesting, but it just hasn't been seen enough yet. And I think he's going to carry the show to a certain degree once he's called upon, once now Colin seems to be on his back for a little bit.
Yeah, especially with him on his back, that means that Taylor, who's been kind of on the outside of the whole investigation, just kind of, I think, doing the grunt work mostly, is now might have to step into Colin's position and do a lot more investigative stuff, because he's very much the one that's like, I don't want to be here, I'm just doing this so I can get back on my bike and get back to what I like doing.
Yeah. And it seems like he's going to have to take over the muscle role, depending on how long Colin's out of the show. He's not dead, he can't be, so we're just going to say he's on his back for a little bit. Because Rachel mentions it. How do you live in this world where anyone you work with can kill you with your bare hands?
Yeah.
So she needs someone who's going to be muscle. Even though she's covered in blades and covered with guns and stuff, she still needs that help.
Especially because going solo is, even Colin learned this week, going solo is dangerous in this city, in this world that they've created. And so...
Speaking of that last scene.
That last scene.
That's it. That's True Detective.
All the foreshadowing, but the layout of it, the setup, the cinematography of everything was probably the best 5 minutes we've seen just of all of that put together. I think this season.
Yeah, that was a True Detective scene. It really was. Him coming in, lingering in the car, the camera kind of sweeping behind him, but in a way to where it seemed like someone was watching him, even though we
Very
know.
voyeuristic.
Yes. Voyeurism. Perfect. Is another subplot of this entire show so far.
Film term.
The how everything's breaking down. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And watching him take the shot, which is shocking. It really
Right.
was, because
'Cause
you're used to. I'm still talking.
Go
Man,
ahead.
damn it, Nick. Season 1, I was watching it. I'm thinking, oh, this is where Rust turns, gets shot, kills the dude, and it's like, dang, I've been shot.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen in season 2. These
This
are
one's
humans.
pumps the gun again and right to the chest and blackout, and you're like, oh, that happened. Okay, so it's definitely very much a shock, and I mean I think they wanted it to be the kind of, is he dead, is he not dead? I think thanks to the internet, we just have too much information to know that he's probably not dead.
Yeah.
But it's definitely one of those that's going to draw you and make you want to know what happened to him. How is he going to overcome this very dire situation that he was put in? And so,
Well, speaking of dire situations, I think we're all out of time. This is Nick. I'm Peyton. Signing off. Until then.
for